Hi guys, good morning. So welcome to the 90. My name is Ratan. Guys, we're discussing Spring Boot Microservices tutorial, right? Guys, in this video, we'll go for the Spring Boot MVC architecture. Guys, first of all, before starting the first application, anything, first of all, you should know the architecture, right? Guys, first of all, you should know the architecture. Guys, MVC architecture. Guys, coming to MVC architecture, we know that M means what? Model. Tell me, guys, model. Tell me, model, view, and controller, right? Exactly. Guys, in this video, you'll completely focus on how the MVC architecture will works. So, who is sending the request, who is taking the request, how the request is processing, what is the service layer, what is the repository layer, what is the controller layer, and what is the view layer, how the processing is done. That complete flow we will discuss about in this video, guys. Clear, right? Be focused. No? So this is very important. So complete once the architecture is done, I'll start the project about MVC. Okay, good. Okay, see, coming to MVC architecture, let me go for the paintbrush. In the paintbrush, let me write the code. Yeah, this is a paintbrush, right? Yeah. Guys, open this one. So first one, you can take the client. Okay, the client is sends the request, guys. The client is easy to send the request to server. Guys, he is the client. Then definitely client will type the URL, right? To send the request, client will type the URL. Is it clear now? Client will type the URL, right? See, for example, I'm typing the URL. So here we can type the URL. So http:// something like, facebook.com. Yeah, facebook.com, right? Just like that, you are typing the URL. When you type the URL, so and you give the some username passwords here, login page or registration page. For example, I'm going with the username. I'm going with the username. I'm going with what? Password, username and what? Password. Guys, like this you can give the username and password. Just you can give the username text box and the password also. Say this is a username text box. Tell me, this is the client, right? So client is sends the request, right? That's what this is, a username text box is there, and next one is a password. Also you can make one text box and you can take one button, guys, that is login button, right? Guys, you can take simply one button. That one represents what, login, right? Exactly. Guys, you can take the login button. Very clear, right? This is a login button. Because when the client sends the request, tell me guys, who will take the request? Definitely the request is taken by server, right? Assume like this is my server. Yeah, this is like, Spring Boot. By default, you'll get the embedded server is like Tomcat, right? Default embedded server is Tomcat. Guys, can you please write this one is what, server, right? Okay, fine. Just you can write this is my server. Guys, you can write this is what, server, right? Exactly. Okay, so now you got the client, and guys, you can write this is what, client. Okay, this is client, that is called what, server, right? Yeah, this is called what, client, this is called server. Guys, when the client sends the request, observe carefully. So when a client sends the request, first of all the request goes to the first component. The request goes to what, first component, that is called front controller. It's very important thing. When you send the request, first the request is going to the front controller. That is called front controller. So when the client sends the request, sir, who will take the request, sir? The request is taken by the first one is like, front controller. Okay, that is very important point. Right, this is the front controller, guys. Just you can move to the, so just you can take this one like this, right? This is the front controller. Is it clear now? This is a front controller. You let me write this point is like front controller. Yeah, this is like, front controller, guys. This is a front controller. Guys, are you clear now? This is what, front controller, right? Yeah, good. Sir, what is a front controller? Guys, every request is passed through front controller. Response is also passed through the front controller. So request and response both are passed through what, a front controller, right? Exactly. So what is a front controller means? Dispatcher servlet is a front controller, guys. Dispatcher what? Servlet. Dispatcher servlet will act as a front controller. Guys, what servlet? Dispatcher servlet will act as a front controller, right? Exactly. Guys, when you send the request, first who will take the request here? The request is taken by front controller, right? Guys, request is taken by front controller or not? That's very, very important. What is the front controller means? Dispatch solid. The request and response both are passed through front controller, right? Yeah. Guys, from the front controller, then the request is bypassed to the next component is like, controller component. Guys, what the component name? Controller component, right? Exactly. Guys, most of the some people will tell you directly the request goes to the controller. But last class also I shown the video regarding first application. I showed you like jar file execution time. I showed you the request goes from dispatcher solid or not. Okay, dispatcher solid is initialized, right? Dispatcher solid is what? Initialized. Okay, this is that's what. First the request goes to dispatcher solid, from the dispatch solid to the controller, right? Okay, this is called what? Controller, right? Exactly. Okay, this is called controller, and here we need to take one class that is annotated with the @controller class. Because our normal Java class becomes the controller class, we require @controller annotation, right? Exactly. Because the controller class contains request handler methods. The method which is handling the request, right? Guys, the method is handling what? Request. That is called request handler method. The request handler methods you are taking using annotation is what? Tell me. So request mapping annotation, right? Guys, what the annotation name? Request mapping annotation, right? Using request mapping annotation, we are making the request handler methods, right? Guys, this is what you can take the we can take the test controller, something like this. Okay, this is a class test controller. To make this class is a controller class @controller annotation. Because next one is what? Take the method void. You can take the greet method. The greet method becomes the request handler method. That method becomes the request handler method. Tell me, that method becomes what? Request handler method, right? Come on here. Yeah, this method becomes, yes, now it is good, right? Yeah. The controller class, the controller contains the controller annotation, guys, and request mapping annotation. The normal Java class becomes the controller class. Tell me, guys, normal Java class becomes what? Controller class. You should have the controller annotation. Normal Java method becomes the request handler method. Guys, this method will handle the request. Using which annotation, guys, here? Request mapping annotation, right? Exactly. Guys, are clear now? Yeah. Then what the conclusion? Tell me here. Then the front controller to the request goes to the controller. Guys, the front controller to what? The request goes to controller, right? The request goes to what? Controller, right? Yeah. Front controller to the request goes to the controller. Hey, come on here. diagram. Small diagram. Yeah. Now it is good. Guys, the front controller request goes to what? Controller, right? Exactly. @controller, this is normal Java class becomes the controller class using @controller annotation. A normal Java method will handle our request. There is a request mapping annotation, right? Which is having the URL part. Clear now? Good. Guys, this is a controller. It will control the flow, that's all. It will control the flow, right? Yes, yes or no? So, but the main processing logics, we will write, using one service layer, guys. Guys, where you will write the main processing logics, the main processing logics are writing using service layer. This is called service layer. Okay, so clear now? This is called what? Service layer, right? So the main processing logics are writing using which layer? Service layer, right? This is called service layer. Okay, that's what you can write. This is a controller layer. This is called what? Service layer, right? Okay, this you can make. This is a controller layer. Okay, this is a controller layer. That's what you can make. This is the controller layer, right? Yeah. Next one is what, guys? This is called service layer. That's what you can take. This is a service layer. Yeah, this is service layer, right? Exactly. Just you can make this is a service layer, right? Yeah, guys, service layer you can take the service class. You can take the class. What you can say here, for example, the employee service, right? If you take the employee service class, yeah, to make this class is a service class, guys. To make this class is what? A service class. We should use the annotation. What is the annotation like? @service annotation, guys. So previously used @controller. Next one is we use what annotation, guys? Service annotation. Guys, here we can make the logics. Whatever the business logics are there, the business logics we are writing using service layer, right? @service layer, guys. Guys, are you clear now? This is called service layer. Guys, when client sends the request comes to the front controller. The front controller will take the request, bypass the request to the controller layer. Guys, front controller will control the application here. Front controller will control the application, right? Exactly. Guys, then controller 2, the request goes to which layer? Tell me here. Service layer, right? Yeah, service layer. That's one thing, guys. Guys, are you clear now? That is a service layer, right? Yeah, the request going to service layer. Come on here. The request goes to what? Service layer, right? Exactly. Yeah. This is called service layer, right? Yeah, that is a service annotation, guys. What? Service annotation, right? That is information, guys. Guys, are you clear now? Making the diagram very bit colorful. Yeah, that is a service layer, right? Exactly. Guys, when the client sends a request, who will take the request? Front controller will take the request. Front controller to the controller layer to what? Service layer, right? Exactly. Guys, if you observe one point, if you go for some 5-star hotels, who will take our order? Generally, who will take the order means like service boy will take the order, manager will take the order. A bit, some manager will be there. The manager will take the order, right? Because the manager will take the order, he is called front controller. Because the manager will take the order and manager will not go to the kitchen and to bring the order, right? The manager will take the order. Under the manager, we have the multiple service boys. Nothing but a controllers. The manager will take the order. The manager will give the appropriate service boy. Yes or no? So appropriate service boy, right? Exactly. The service boy is nothing but controller. Then the service boy goes to the kitchen, right? In the kitchen, the food is prepared. That is nothing but service layer. Okay, service layer means what? Business logic, right? Business logic means what? Food preparation, right? Exactly. Because when the dispatches are late, manager will take the request, send the request to give the request to the service boy. Then service boy goes to the kitchen. In the kitchen, food is prepared. Guys, kitchen what? Food is prepared, right? Yeah. Then service boy will take that food, give that food to the controller layer. Guys, give that food to what? Controller, right? Give that food to the controller. Then what the controller will do? Tell me. Controller means service boy, right? That service boy will give the food to the front controller, nothing but manager. Guys, who is going to serve the food? Mostly the manager will serve the food, right? Exactly. Guys, normal basic restaurant, directly service boy will take the request and bring the order, right? But if you take the big hotels, so manager will take the request, he give it to service boy go to the kitchen, and the kitchen people will prepare the food and they will give to the service boy give to the manager, and the manager will take that food and the manager will add some extra decoration, right? Like he adds some salads and add some spoons and tissues. He will add some extra data, right? Guess yes or no? Yeah, then he will give the response to what? Client, right? Guys, he will give the response to what? Client. Guys, try to understand the point. Is very, very, very important. Flow of execution, right? Exactly. Guys, that is called, hotel, guys. That is called MVC architecture. Guys, are you clear now? That is information. Guys, please respond what the point. When the client sends a request, who will take the request? Front controller. Front controller is nothing but manager. The manager will take the request. The manager will send the request to the controller. Nothing but service boy. The service boy go to the kitchen. Guys, the service boy go to the kitchen. Kitchen people will prepare the food. After preparation of the food, give the food to the controller layer, service boy. The service boy give it to the manager. The manager will give to the client, right? Exactly. Guys, the manager will give it to what? Client or not? That is the information, guys. Guys, any questions? Clear, right? Good. Guys, see, if technical point of view here, see when the client sends the request, guys, the request goes to front controller to the controller to service layer. Service layer give the response back to the, service layer will give the response back to what? Controller. So controller give the response back to the controller. Controller will give the response back to the view layer, right? Exactly. Sorry, front controller. Guys, remember that whatever the response is given by controller to the front controller, the controller response in MVC design pattern by default is a view layer, by default view name, guys. Yes, remember this point, very important. Whatever the response is given by controller, this is the controller, right? This controller is giving the response to the front controller, right? Assume like the controller is giving the response is like success. It means the controller return value is by default view name, guys. This is very important. Tell me, guys, the controller the controller return value is by default view name, guys. By default what? View name, right? That is very important. Controller return value is by default view name, guys. The controller return value is by default view name. That's what the front controller will take, that view name, na? It will take the view name and the front controller goes to the next layer, like view layer. Guys, the front controller goes to what? View layer, right? This is called view layer, guys. This is called what layer here? View layer, right? Exactly. So this is called view layer. In the view layer we have the two things, guys. One is the JSP views we can have and time-leaf views we can have. Guys, view layer, how many views you can maintain? Tell me here. In the view layer we have the two things. One is the JSP views you can write, JSP views. Second one is what? Time-leaf views also you can write. That's all, guys. Let me go for the JSP views or time-leaf views. It's up to you. It's not a problem. Guys, see, he is sending the controller is giving the what the message? Tell me, success. Then that success is nothing but view name. It means it looking for what? Success.jsp file, right? Guys, looking for what? Success.jsp file. See, guys, this is one data is there. This is like failure.jsp file is there. Success.jsp and what? Failure.jsp. Guys, success.jsp and what? Failure.jsp, right? Exactly. Guys, this is my file is like success dot what? JSP file. Guys, this is my success.jsp file. Let me yeah, this is my success.jsp file is there and this is my fail.jsp, guys. Fail.jsp, right? Exactly. Guys, I have the two files, success.jsp and what? Fail.jsp, right? Guys, you got the point? Yes, I told you just now. What I told you, tell me here. Yeah, guys, let me write the short name success.jsp file like this, and this is called what? Success.jsp file. This is called fail.jsp file, right? Exactly. This is success and what? Fail.jsp, right? Yeah, fail.jsp file, right? Exactly. Guys, observe one point. Whatever the response is coming from the controller, what is the response name? View name, right? View name means what? Success.jsp, right? Exactly. Because the front controller goes to the view layer now. The front controller goes to what? View layer. Identify the corresponding view. Identify what? Corresponding view, and take that view name. Guys, take that view name. That view is rendered to the client browser. Guys, that view is what? Rendered to client browser, right? Exactly. Guys, you got the point? What the point? Tell me here. When the controller given the response, what is the controller return value? Tell me here. The controller return value is what? By default view name. That view name, it will go for the view layer. From the view layer, it will take the view name success.jsp. Sir, how it will take the success.jsp, sir? How it will take the success.jsp means, so we have one concept like view resolvers. Guys, what the concept name here? View resolver is there. Okay, view, okay, resolver. The view resolver contains the two values. One is a prefix and second one is a suffix. Actually, this prefix and suffix you should give in the property file. View resolver is there. View resolver contains the prefix and suffixes. Guys, prefix means what? See, for example, I got the success.jsp. For the success.jsp, guys, I got the response is what? Tell me here. Success.jsp. For the success.jsp, we give the prefix and suffix. What the prefix we should give, like prefix means starting value /webinf /webinf /views folder. This is the prefix. Guys, suffix is what? Suffix is nothing but extension, guys. The extension, let me give like JSP, .jsp. Then controller what it returns, tell me? Success, right? Controller what it returns, success. Controller returns the success means then what happened here? Controller returns the success. To that success, this prefix is added. Guys, to that success, what happened? What added? Tell me. This is a success. This is a success. This is a view name. To this view name, prefix is added. This is the prefix, right? This prefix is added here. After that, tell me, guys. First, what added here? First prefix is added. After that, what added? Tell me here. Suffix is added. Okay, this is like prefix added first. Slash views slash is there, na? Yes. Then guys, this is success, na? For this one, this is called prefix is added. After that, suffix is added. What does suffix tell me here? .jsp, right? That's all. Guys, this is called view name, guys. This is called view name. How it will decide means based on the view resolver concept. The internal resource view resolver concept is there. Based on that view resolver, it will identify this complete data. Whereby nf slash views slash success.what JSP, right? Based on this prefix and suffix values. Guys, this is the complete flow, guys, about your MVC architecture. And moreover, you are thinking that, sir, everything is fine here. Controller means @ control annotation is there. Service means @ service annotation is there. Everything is fine. Guys, but where is the dispatch servlet we configured, sir? Guys, dispatch servlet and view resolvers, we don't need to configure. These are auto configured. Guys, these are what? Auto configured, right? Exactly. Guys, you got my point, right? So front dispatch servlet. Actually, in the Spring classes, without Spring Boot, if you take the Spring classes, maybe who are having the knowledge about the Spring classes, actually this view resolver you should configure manually, and you should configure dispatch servlet also manually in XML files. The guys who knows Spring, they can understand that point. Dispatch servlet and view resolver we should configure manually. But in the Spring Boot, we should configure. These are auto configurations. Spring Boot, we have the feature like auto configurations, right? That auto configurations automatically configures the data. Guys, clear? I think view resolver is clear, right? View layer. How it identifies the views based on the prefix and what the suffixes. Actually, the controller return value is a view name. To that view name, prefix and suffix is added. Then becomes the complete path of the JSP file. Guys, complete path of the what? JSP file, right? Exactly. Guys, the front controller will take that, will take that view and render that view to the browser, right? As a response. Right? Exactly. Yeah, this is called response, guys. The response is displayed in the browser window. Guys, the response is displayed in what? Browser window or not? Guys, this is called what? Response, right? Exactly. This is called request and response, guys. Is it clear now? That is called front controller, service layer. Sir, everything is fine, but where is the repository layer? Guys, next one is repository layer. Guys, when the client sends the request, tell me who will take the request? Front controller. I'm talking about the hotel manager point of view. When the client sends the request, manager will take the request, right? Guys, when the client is ordered, manager will take the order, and manager will send the request to the service boy. But the point here is, assume like I ordered like live fish curry. I want. If I want live fish curry means I ordered to the manager. Manager send it to the controller layer. The controller go to the kitchen. In the kitchen layer, he said like we want live fish curry. We want live fish curry means what? Kitchen we don't have live fishes, right? Yes or no? Fishes, you don't have live fishes. That's what the kitchen layer goes to. Tell me, guys, the kitchen goes to what? Store, right? Guys, the kitchen goes to what? Store or not? This is a store. In the store we have the fishes. Guys, in the store we have the fishes, right? Exactly. Guys, let me write these are my fishes. Guys, this is my first fish. This is my second fish. These are the fishes, right? Fishes are swimming. Fish 1, fish 2, and fish 3, and what? Fish 4, right? These are my database. Guys, in the store I have the fishes, right? Exactly. So service layer will come to the repository layer. In the repository layer, they will take the fish. Yes or no? They'll take the fish and they'll prepare the live fish curry, right? Yes or no? So because he ordered like live fish curry. Live fish curry means the live fishes are not there in the kitchen, right? That's what they're going for the store. Store not about what? Database, right? In the database they will take the fishes, and after taking the fishes they will make the data like yeah, service layer execution, right? Exactly. Guys, are it clear now? Then you can write this is called what layer, guys? We can make this is called repository layer. Guys, this is called what? Repository layer, right? We can write this is a repository layer. Guys, are you clear, right? Repository layer, because he want live fish curry means what? From where he will take the live fish curry? He will take the live fish curry from the database, right? This is called what? Repository layer. Guys, are you clear now? Let me alignment. Yeah, this is called what? Repository layer, right? Guys, can I write here itself? No problem. Yeah, better. Guys, the repository layer, we have the annotation like at the rate repository annotation, guys. That's what, let me write the at the rate repository layer, at the rate what annotation here, at the rate repository annotation, right? Better. Let me write only that point enough. Yeah, this is called what layer, guys? Repository layer, right? Yeah, that is called complete flow of what? Tell me, this is a complete flow of what? Your MVC architecture, right? Exactly. Guys, when the client sends a request, who will take the request? Please respond, all of you. Who will take the request? Front controller. Front controller will take the request, bypass the request to the controller. Guys, in the controller, we never write the logic, guys. Control just for the flowing purpose. The service boy just he can go to the kitchen, take the food, give the food to the front controller. Yes, sir. No, front controller is the controller. Controller just a flow of execution. But main business logics where we will write in the service layer. At the rate service annotation. This is called at the rate repository annotation. You got the point, right? Because we added live fish curry. Live fishes are not there in the kitchen. So we will go for the repository layer. The repository layer will take the fishes to the service layer. Service layer prepare the food. Go for the controller layer. Controller layer, what is the return value is there? The return value is by default what? Tell me, guys. Controller return value is by default. Don't forget this point, guys. Controller return value is by default view name. So view name is there, but how the view identified? View identified based on the view resolver. Assume like you got the message success. For that success, prefix is added and suffix is added. It will make the complete view name. The front controller will take that view name and display that view name to the client browser, right? Yeah, that is the point, guys. We clear? Good. Guys, if you want to get the numbering, guys, when the client sends the request, this is the number 1. Client sends the request. Guys, client sends what? Request, right? This is the number 1. Guys, let me make this some different color. Can you please make it as a green or blue better? Yeah, better. Okay, this is like request 1. Client sends the request, guys. This is a point number 1. When the client sends the request, this is called point number what we can say, guys, 1. When the client sends the request. Point number 2. Tell me, guys, what the point number 2? The who will take the request, guys? Front controller. Front controller will send the request to the controller, right? Guys, front controller will send the request to what? Controller. Right? Controller will send the request to what? Controller will send the bypass that request to the service layer. Service layer will bypass that request to what? Tell me, bypass the request to what? Repository layer. From that repository layer, the request comes to what? Again, response back to the service layer. Yes, response back to what? Service layer, right? From that service layer, the response back to what? Controller layer. The controller layer, the response back to what? Tell me, guys. Controller layer to response back to the front controller, right? Front controller. From the front controller, the request goes to which layer here? View layer. And it will take the appropriate view. It will take the appropriate view, right? After taking the view, complete view name, the view name is taken by the, tell me, guys, front controller. And the front controller will take that view, and front controller will bypass that view to the what layer? Tell me, guys, client, right? That is nothing but again 10. Exactly, guys, that is the numbering you should give. I think I'm correct, right? Guys, I'm correct or wrong? Guys, I don't want to make it circle. Circle is not good, it seems. Let me delete the circle. See guys, patience is very important. Oh, no. I need to check, I need to select, I need to delete. Yeah, come to this one, take up to this. Yeah, delete. Bus. Remaining thing you can erase. Yeah, guys, this is a request number. See guys, patience. Yeah, patience is very important. Request 1, right? That's it, guys. This is 1 to 10 numbers. Yes, I think you got the clarity, right? So we added request to the manager. Manager is asking the service boy to bring the food. The service boy go to the kitchen. The kitchen people will prepare the food and give it to the controller layer. Controller to the front controller. The front controller to the service layer, client, right? Exactly. Guys, any questions? And the main important thing we should remember that controller return value. Controller return value by default what? View name. Controller return value by default view name. How the view is identified means based on that view name. We adding the prefix and suffix, right? To that view name, prefix is added and suffix is added. It identifies the view name based on the view resolver. Then the view name is taken by front controller again. The client responds back to the client. Guys, response back to what? Client, right? That is very important point. Guys, one more point here. Sir, I have some question, guys. Controller, I want to give some results to the view layer to display. The controller layer should display some data in the view layer. How the controller layer will send the data to the view layer means, tell me guys, how the controller layer send the data to view layer to display, right? Exactly. Guys, how the controller layer will send the data to the view layer means whatever the data if you want send to the controller layer to the view layer, because where is the data displayed here? The data displayed in what? View layer, right? That's what, whatever the data you want to display in the view layer, the data you should add inside one object, nothing but model object, guys. What the object name, guys? Here, model object. Yes, we have the two objects. I'll tell you that point. One is the model object is there, and one more object is the model and view object is there. Model and view object. Guys, the controller by default, the controller return value is what? Tell me, guys. Default return value of the controller is what? The default return value of the controller is what? View name. The default return value of the controller is what? View name. How the view is identified means based on the view resolver. To that view name, prefix and suffix is added. This is a view name. To that view name, prefix and what? Suffix is added. Are you clear, right? Yeah. Guys, to send the controller, how it send the data to the view layer. Guys, how it will decide the view layer means? Tell me guys, how the front controller will send the data to the view layer means using which object, guys? Two objects are there. Model object is there. Model and what? View object is there, right? Exactly. Most frequently we'll go for the model object, guys. Most frequently we'll send what object here? Model object, right? That is called client server, guys. Guys, any questions? Guys, in my material, I have these are the diagrams for that. Fine. So based on the okay, what the material diagrams we have, when compared to these diagrams, I think this is very clear, right? Guys, these are good. This is what we written now. It is good. What we written now, it is good, right? Guys, this is going for the request. This is a response back, right? Previously I written this request to response. I think we don't need to write the request and response, right? So we understood, right? Because this is request flowing, this is response is back, right? Guys, yes or no? Forward array is nothing but request. Backward array is nothing but, guys, forward array is nothing but what? Request. Backward array is nothing but what? Response, right? That is information, guys. Guys, we can see this diagram also. One more diagram is there. Guys, here the request comes to dispatch a servleter. The request comes to dispatch a servleter, and as we know that view resolver is there, controller return value is a view name is there, executing the business logic is there, everything is good. Guys, the dispatcher servlet internally contains the two components, guys. What is a handler mapping and handler adapter? Handler mapping and what? Handler adapter, right? Sir, what is this handler mapping and handler adapter? Guys, see, application point of one control. Recently, one student is asked this question, guys. What is the purpose of handler mapping and handler adapters are? See, guys, application point of view, we have the one controller, multiple controllers. Guys, if there's a one controller, multiple controllers. Definitely, we have the 10, assume like 10 controllers we have. When you send the request, how the front controller identifies the request goes to the specific controller. Because application pointer, you have the multiple controllers. Then how the front controller will identify the specific controller. So you got the point, right? Yeah, your request is specific to what specific controller, right? How the controller is identified means the controller is identified using handler mapping, guys. The handler mapping, the handler mapping is responsible. Handler mapping is responsible. Tell me, handler mapping is responsible to identify which controller should execute. Which controller should execute. Just it will mapping, guys. Which controller should execute. What the handler adapter will do? Handler adapter will execute that request mapping method. Yes, you got the point, right? The primary purpose of handler mapping is determine which control should process for incoming the HTTP request. Okay, as handler mapping is to determine which controller should execute for the incoming request. It identifies the mapping between the incoming request to specific handler methods, guys. Guys, handler mapping identifies the specific controller and specific handler method. Once it is identified, that code is executed by handler adapter. Yes, it is invoking, guys. Handler adapter invoking the handler method that has been selected by handler mapping. Read this point, guys. It focuses on adapting and invoking the handler method. Guys, handler adapter is invoking the handler method selected by handler mapping. Guys, you got the clarity, right? Handler mapping is identifying which controller and which method. Okay, it identifies the data. Guys, you got the point, right? I said like, that guy is he's identifying, one person is identifying, guys. Another person is going and kill that person. Guys, yes or no? This is a story like that. The primary purpose of handler mapping is identifying the person. And who will do the action? This is called by handler adapter. These 2 points are clear. The primary purpose of handler mapping is determine which controller should be processed and which method should be processed. Okay, then handler adapter invoking the handler method has been selected by handler mapping, right? It deals with the execution for the handler. Execution of what? Handler, right? Is it clear? Handler mapping is identifying. Handler adapter is what? Calling. So they'll ask a question like we have the 10 controllers. How your request is specific to the specific controller? How will identify it? Using handler mapping concept, guys. Guys, are you clear? How the specific controller is identified means using handler mapping. Some people will ask a question like that, right? Exactly. Guys, now tell me, guys. I'll write based on this one. What is MVC architecture? What is MVC full form? Model view controller, right? Model view controller. Guys, see, this dispatch solid is very, very important. Client sends an HTTP request. Okay, specific URL. The dispatcher solid takes the request. The dispatch solid is what takes the request. It is a front controller, guys. Every request and response pass through this. Every request and response is passed to this, right? Exactly. Guys, it seems like more explanation. It's okay. Going good. Going good, right? Yeah, if we spend more time on this kind of examples, we'll get the more clarity. Guys, click on the launch. I'm going for this previously we done one example, right? That example I'll run. I'll show you the dispatch solid once. Guys, for the first question, what is front controller? Tell me, guys, what is a front controller? What is front controller means? The request goes to the request and response pass through the front controller, right? Guys, what is the front controller? Tell me. The request and speak out what the point? The request and response response what? Pass through the front controller, right? Guys, pass through what? Front Tell me our front controller, right? Exactly. Guys, dispatcher servlet will act as a front controller. Dispatcher servlet will act as, tell me, act as what? Front controller, right? Dispatcher servlet act as front controller. In Spring framework, we should configure the, guys, tell me, in Spring framework, you should configure the, you should what? Configure the front controller. In the Spring framework, you should configure the front controller, but in the Spring Boot, it is by default auto configure, right? In Spring Boot, tell me guys, but in what you can say here, Spring Boot, it is auto configured. Guys, auto configure, right? Exactly. Guys, the request and response pass through the front controller. Dispatcher servlet will act as a front controller. In the Spring, we should, tell me guys, we should configure the front controller, but in Spring Boot, it is auto configured. Think you got the question clear, right? There is a front controller, guys. Yes, you got the point, huh? Yeah. Guys, next question. What is a controller? Guys, controller just representing what flow, right? Controller don't have any logic part, guys. Controller have the request handler methods which will handle the request. Guys, controller. Guys, what is controller? Okay, what is a controller? And tell me guys, service and repository layer, right? Repository. Yeah, tell me guys, what is a controller, service and repository layer? The controller layer contains the request handler methods to handle the request, to handle the request, right? To handle the request. Guys, to handle what request, right? Exactly. Guys, at the rate controller annotation represents the controller, right? Annotation represents the controller, right? Exactly. That's one thing, guys. The service layer the controller layer contains request handler methods, guys, to handle the request flow, guys. We don't have any logic part here, just it is having the request flow. It handles request flow, right? At the rate controller annotation represent the controller. So one point. Service layer, tell me guys, what is service layer then? The service layer contains the tell me guys, what kind of logic? Tell me. Business logics. Guys, see, front controller means what? It acts as every request and response pass to the front controller. It acts as a dispatch, or it acts as a front controller. Guys, the controller layer contains request handler methods to handle the request flow. Do you have any business logic in the controller? No, just handle the request flow, right? The service layer contains the business logics. Got the point, right? At the rate service annotation, tell me guys, at the rate what? At the rate service annotation represents what? Annotation represent, at the rate service represent the service layer, right? Guys, represent what? Okay, represent the service layer, right? Service layer. Yes, at the rate controller means annotation. I don't need to write again annotation, right? At the rate controller represents what? Controller layer, right? The name itself saying the controller layer, guys, it is controlling the data. That's all. Are you writing any business logic here? No. The service layer, the aim itself is service, right? Service means what? Logic part, right? Exactly. Repository, guys. The name itself saying repository, storage. Because you got the point, right? The repository logic, the service layer. The repository layer means what? The repository layer contains repository, guys. The terminology you should inject. That's what I'm speaking this much time. All of you, please like the video, comment the video, subscribe to our channel to get the more videos. And moreover, you please like the videos and write the notes, please. You write the notes. Write is all the points. Get the clarity. After the video, you should feel that I learned the content. I learned some content, right? Feeling important, yeah. You should learn some content. Every video by Ratan sir is very, very, very important for you guys. Yes or no? You got the clarity, right? The repository layer contains the contains what? Logics interacting with the, tell me guys, interacting with the, tell me, interacting with the, tell me, interacting with the database. Interacting with what? Database, right? Yeah, so controller layer is talking about the flow of execution. Service layer contains the business logic. The repository layer contains the logics interacting with what? Database, right? The repository layer contains the logics interacting with what? Database or not? What annotation, guys? At the rate repository, repository annotation, right? Right, that is at the rate means, and that is annotation only. Represents the repository layer, right? Repository layer, right? That is the information, guys. Is it clear? What is at the rate controller, at the rate service? What is a controller, service, and repository layers? Is it clear now? What is the friend controller understood? What is the friend controller understood? What is the controller layer, service layer, and what? Repository layer, right? Exactly. Guys, next one, what is a view layer? How the view is identified? Guys, tell me, guys, what is the return value of the controller? What is the return value of the what? Return value of the controller. Guys, tell me, what is the return value of the controller? The controller return value is by default, guys, in MVC, what is the return value of the controller? Guys, this is very important question. Maybe you feel that definitely important, right? In MVC, what is the return value of the controller? Tell me, guys, controller, what is the return value? Guys, what is the return value of the controller? The controller return value is by default what? View name. That is, view name means what? JSP file name, right? The controller return value is by default view name. That's very important. Okay, guys, the controller return value is by default view name. The front controller, tell me, guys, the front controller will take the tell me, guys, will take the view name. The front controller will take the view name, and the front controller will take the view name. Who will take the view name, guys? Front controller is taking the view name. Front controller will take the view name with the help of what? Tell me, guys, with the help of view resolver. Guys, with the help of what? View resolver. Okay, with the help of view resolver, prefix and suffixes, prefix and what? With the help of view resolver, prefix and suffix, it will identify the view name. It will identify the, tell me, guys, identify the complete view name, complete view name, and render that view to the, guys, the front controller take the view name. With the help of view resolver, prefix and suffixes, it identifies the complete view path, complete what? View path, and it will identify the complete view path and render that view to the browser. It will take the identify the complete view path, render that view to, tell me, guys, render that view to browser, right? Exactly. That is the clear information. Yeah. I think we are discussing almost 1 hour, but okay, fine. But topic is bit important, right? More explanation very important for us. What is a front controller? We understood. What is a controller layer, service layer, repository layer? Will do. In MVC, what is the return value of the controller? The return value of the controller is a view name. Who will take that view name? The front controller will take that view name. With the help of view resolver, it will identify the complete view path and render that view to what? Browser, right? Exactly. Yes, you got the point. Yes. How many ways? What are the, guys, that view can be like, we can have the JSP view, very frequent we'll use. Guys, JSP, and what are the view layer technologies? Guys, frequently used view layer technologies are what? What are the view layer technologies? Guys, what are the view layer? Okay, technologies, right? Exactly. Guys, previously we are going for the JSP view layer, guys. JSP view layer. But present applications we are not using like JSP view layer, but existing projects definitely in the JSP view layer, some projects. Second one is what? These days present project you are going for theme leaf view layer, guys. Theme leaf view layer. And moreover, if you go for the Spring STS ID, any ID, the default template engine is the time leaf time leaf. Guys, the default template means what? By default we'll get the dependencies, no? Guys, by default you get what? Dependencies. See, for example, here if you go for the new Spring Starter project, new Spring Starter project, if you click on the next, here you can go for the by default time leaf you'll get actually. See, this is a default template engine. Are you getting JSP? No. But if you want to use a JSP means what we need to do again? We need to go for the Maven repository and we need to take the data and we need to copy the dependencies and we need to place the dependencies here. I think you got the clarity, right? So generally, most frequently, Java developers will use the JSP views and time leaf views. But Spring Boot default template engine is what? JSP time leaf. By default, Spring Boot support time leaf only. If you want JSP means the dependencies are not given by Spring Boot by default. You should go for the Maven repository. From the Maven repository, you should take the JSP dependencies and JSTL dependencies. That dependencies we need to place in the format XML file, right? Guys, yes or no? Yeah, that's what, guys. So which one is important? JSP is important, theme leaf is important. Time leaf is important, right? Exactly. Get the default template engine. Spring Boot default template engine is what? Spring Boot, the default template engine. Tell me a template engine. Template engine is what? The Spring Boot, the default template engine is which one am I? Default template engine is what? Time leaf. Guys, you got the point. Just you can place the cursor here. See, guys, time leaf means what? A modern server-side Java template engine for both web and standard environment. Allow the HTML is correctly spelled in the browser as a prototype, right? Exactly. Yeah, this is a default template engine, guys. Are you getting any JSP dependency here? Go for the new Spring Starter project. Let me show you that JSP dependency is coming or not. Click on the next, select the dependencies. Are you getting any JSP here? No. Are you getting any JSTL here? No. Got the point, right? JSP template engine by default template engine or theme leaf is a by default template engine. Time leaf is the by default engine, right? Spring Boot, the default template engine is time leaf, guys. That is very, very important thing. Got the point, right? Yes. Guys, clear? Good. That is the point, guys. I think you got the clarity about what is a friend controller, what is a controller, what is a service layer will do, what the repository will do, what the view resolver will do, right? Guys, view resolver identify the view name. Friend controller with the help of view resolver. Friend controller will take the view name now. Exactly. Guys, next question, see. Guys, how many questions we done? Tell me. First question is what is a friend controller. Second one is what is a friend controller. What is a service layer and repository layer? Service layer will do. Third question in MVC, what is the return value of the controller. Fourth question is what are the view layers in the JSP. And fifth question we are going with now. Because before going to fifth question, let me show you the dispatch servlet pointer. If you go for previous example, this is a previous example. In the previous example, SRC main resources, this is a controller. We have this is a controller class. This is a controller class, right? Yeah, guys, the first example I don't want it in the view name. That's what at the response body I used it. Guys, this is a control return value. Control return value by default return value is what? View name. But if you don't want view name means previous class I explained at the response body require, right? Exactly. Guys, let me run this code. When we run this code directly from the dashboard also you can run boot dashboard. Click on what? Start. Once if we click on the start, this is remind me later. And just let me send the URL is what? Test URL. If you send the test URL, we get the message like good morning Ratan sir, right? Exactly. Guys, but you need to check the console once. Okay, so double click on this file. Browser is open directly. Browser is open. Yeah, this is a browser. Guys, I need to send the URL, fine. Guys, but you can check the console once. In the console, guys, can you see the dispatch authority is initialized or not? Because you're sending the request, right? Because opening the browser also what? Maybe some default URL slashes are there now. That's what, guys. Okay, just you can type the slash. Good morning, Ratan sir. Like, comment, and what? Subscribe. Guys, you can see here. This is important for us. Dispatcher servlet is initialized. Initializing Spring dispatcher servlet. Initializing servlet dispatcher servlet. Complete initialization. The dispatcher servlet is coming or not coming, guys? Coming, right? It means the request is going through. Request is going through what? Dispatch servlet or not? Nothing but a front controller, right? Yes. Guys, the front controller only main thing. Some of the people in Amirpet classes, they'll miss this front controller, directly request goes to the controller. Guys, then how it will be? Dispatch servlet is a front controller, right? At least that guy should have the clarity. Maybe if you do the MVC project, this is MVC project now using Spring. MVC project using Spring, you should configure the front controller. Dispatch servlet you should configure. Because you got the point, right? Dispatcher servlet you should configure. I think you got the clarity now. This is a practical proof that the request is going through the dispatcher servlet. The response is back through the dispatcher servlet, right? Exactly. Guys, are you clear now? That is the information, guys. Good. How many questions you written here? We written the 4 questions. Yeah, 5th question. That 5th question, tell me, guys. How the controller tell me, guys, how the controller return the, how the controller give the result data to view layer to display. How the controller give the result data. Some result data is there now. So I assume like some total bill is there. I want to display the total bill to the view layer. How the controller will give the result to what? View layer, right? View layer to display. Guys, how the controller give the result to view layer to display. Guys, the controller is giving the data to view layer. The controller is giving the result to view layer to display in 2 ways. I copied question, I placed again in 2 ways. Like 2 approaches, like I have multiple things, but 2 ways we generally go for. Most people go for the model object, guys. And we have the model object is there, and second one is what? Model and view object is there. Model and view object is there. Model object means it contains only data, guys. Guys, what the point? Tell me here. Model object, we can have only data. Okay. Model and view object, here we can have data and view name also. We have the data and what? View name. Guys, next class I'll show you practical this point. No worries about that. Okay, I'll show you the practicals about this point. Just remember that how the controller give the result to the view layer to display. Guys, after this much explanation also, if you forgot these points, there is no use. That's what you please take care about this all the points. This is the model. What is a front controller? What is a controller service repository layer? In MVC, what is the return value of the controller? What is the view layer technologies? And the default Spring Boot support which is view layer. And what is a controller give the result to the view layer? How the controller give the result to the view layer to display, right? Exactly. Is it clear now? Good. Guys, one more last question I'll write. What is the purpose of handler mapping? What is the purpose of what? Handler mapping, right? Guys, what is the, if the application contains multiple controllers, guys, otherwise, if the application contains multiple controllers, application contains one controller, multiple controllers, how it identifies the specific controller? Yes, application contains multiple controller, how our request is, how it identifies, guys, how it identifies the request URL belongs to specific controller. The request URL belongs to specific controller. Guess you got the point, right? Specific controller, right? Exactly. I think you got the clarity now. If the application contains multiple controllers, how it identifies the request URL belongs to specific controller, right? How it identifies here? I shown you the diagram here. This one, the primary purpose of handler mapping. The primary purpose of handler mapping. Tell me guys, the primary purpose of handler mapping is to determine which controller should process for the incoming HTTP request. Which controller should process for incoming request. It identifies the mapping between incoming request to the handler methods. You got the point, right? Handler mapping is simply handler mapping will identify what the handler adapter will do. Handler adapter will handle the, tell me guys, it focus on what? Adapting the and invoking the handler methods. Guys, handler mapping is identifying, handler adapter is invoking. Guys, handler adapter, handler, guys, can you write like this? The handler adapter, handler, tell me guys, the handler adapter invoking the handler method that has to be selected with the handler mapping. It deals with what it deals with the execution of the handler method, right? Guys, you got the clarity now? Yes. Total we written the 6 questions, guys. Yes. Any questions? I think we got the very clear diagram, very good architecture diagram. So very important here. So you please focus on this diagram. Write the diagram clearly and write these all the questions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 questions clearly. Read the points. Guys, please share the information to your friends. Please like the video, comment the video, subscribe to our channel to get the more videos. If I feel that more guys are watching and more guys are supporting, I'll take the more videos. Thank you guys.